Listen, come here, not too close, but I've been in thousands of marketing meetings over the last decade, okay? I went from being a junior media buyer at a small agency to a senior director at one of the most well-respected growth agencies in New York City, partially due to how well I conducted myself in front of superiors and my team members, AKA how well I performed in meetings. The key to leveling up your career, regardless if you're a creative strategist, a media buyer, or you work on the influencer or brand marketing side, is how well you do in meetings, to be honest. It in and of itself is an art form. Sure, I wish I could sit here and tell you that it's all about the results you produce and the actual work that you do. But to be honest, I've seen a lot of talented people not progress as far as they should or as quickly as they could because they didn't know how to communicate their results, or they weren't prepared and they didn't know how to advocate for their point of view. So here is my step-by-step guide on how you can look really good in your next marketing meeting. Let's dive in. Number one, know your numbers. Every time I'm about to jump into a growth marketing meeting, especially if we're looking over Facebook ads performance, for instance, I like to look at this data set every time before I get inside that meeting. And essentially, I like to understand all of these numbers and also know the trend. Are these numbers going up or down over the last 7 days? What about over the last 30 days? Are we on pace to meet quarterly goals? Or perhaps even annual goals, especially as we're coming up on the back half of the year. Also, it's almost Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so I hope you're having those conversations too. If you know these numbers, number one, you can speak to them, which in and of itself shows that you're prepared and might just be good enough at that base level. But this will also highlight if you need a plan to turn things around or even double down on good results, which is a massive opportunity to be that person that has that plan. Number two, know your competitors. And sure, do look at your competitors' ad library, but frankly, just looking at that is beginner level. But where you can really advance here is if you can spot certain trends in their ad account. Are there certain formats or messaging types or even hooks that they seem to be doubling down on? What type of creator content are they using? Is it mostly UGC? Are they working with certain influencers or even celebrities? Now, I actually like to track these things month over month so I can speak more to those broader trends and even specific learnings that their team is probably gaining. And also look at their product strategy. Is there a certain hero product that they have that they keep on advertising that seems to be doing well for them? Do they have any new product launches or even new product bundles? And my new favorite one, discuss actual sales and revenue data. This is where my new favorite tool, Particle, comes in. You can actually look up the revenue numbers, top performing products, and more fascinating sales data from some of the most well-known brands like Skims, Vuori, Lululemon. The reality is that looking at a brand's ad library can't actually tell you how sales are doing, but Particle can show you sales numbers. So here's how I'd use that data to fuel my paid social strategy, even if these brands aren't exactly direct competitors. Number one, check out their top performing products. I was actually really surprised to see that a competitor of the brand that I work with's top selling product was a mascara and not a foundation like I had initially anticipated, especially based on their ads library, which has very little mascara shown. I actually shared some of this data in a marketing meeting recently with a founder, and they were astounded at what we found. I was able to highlight that some of the best performing products weren't actually what we thought they were. And since we were able to look at revenue numbers in comparison to the number of live ads that they currently had in their account, we were able to figure out what their ad spend likely was. Again, huge thanks to Particle for sponsoring this video. You made me look really good in that marketing meeting. Number three, know your customers. So I actually recently had a really insightful conversation with Ben Yahalom from True Classic. He explained that a big reason why they were able to achieve $250 million in revenue in just a few short years was because they were incredibly customer-centric. In fact, this is one of the big pillars of their company. And I know what you're thinking, your eyes are glossing over, and you're like, yeah, research is really important. But what if you, as the person on the marketing team, actually suggested that you do more research? And here's a really good way to pitch that. So Ben explained that they did a ton of research on their customer. They really wanted to know what they truly desired, which honestly was a pretty big feat for a t-shirt brand, right? And he shared that they actually interview their customers in person at the True Classic office in front of the entire team. Now, I don't think that's super realistic for all brands, but I've conducted several customer interviews remotely that I found just as useful. So if you want to score big points with your marketing leadership team, I would suggest pitching doing customer interviews. I honestly think this is a massive hack for developing empathy with the end user. Not enough people do it. And if you're in the unfortunate position of having a true marketing problem, which I've definitely had, it's likely a result of not knowing your customer well enough. Number 4, know how to develop strategy through a combination of your market, your competition, and your own data. But first, let's talk about the difference between strategy and tactics. I like to keep this super simple. Your goal defines your strategies, right? Your strategy is the vision for how you think you can achieve your goal. You might have a few strategies that you think will ultimately result in your goal coming to life. Your tactics are the action items that you need to do to bring that strategy to life. So say you have a goal of increasing sales revenue by 30%. Perhaps one of your strategies is going to be increasing sales from paid social. Maybe you'll even have another strategy that's about increasing the returning customer rate. But let's just think about the paid social side, right? So say you have this strategy that you want to execute on. What do those tactics look like so that you can actually increase your sales from paid social? One tactic is you can increase your creative production, aka you can produce more ads. And number 2, you could also conduct rapid product testing. Maybe you get a sense that there's a hidden opportunity with a product that you don't often have front and center on paid social. A metaphor that I like to think about when comparing strategies and tactics is that of a road trip. Say you are driving across the country from California to New York City. There are multiple routes that you can drive to reach your goal, but the actual one that you take is going to depend on your goal. So maybe you want to reach there in a certain time frame. Maybe you want to take the more scenic route. Maybe you want to make a stop in a certain location. You're going to choose a path, and that is your strategy based on your goal. Your tactics are your actual Google Maps. They are your pit stops, the hotels or camping grounds you're going to stay at along the way, and the landmarks you want to see. And number 5, know your calendar. And part of this is literally just knowing your actual calendar. Are there any specific holidays that you need to plan for? Honestly, if you can just simply be the person to say, hey, July 4th is coming up in a few weeks. Do we need to plan for an organic social post? Should we make some Facebook ads for it? And this would win big in my book. Do we need to plan for a certain sales spike or even slump due to past year's data? This is another thing that you could look at on Particle, by the way, to see how your competitors have done in the past. Hint, hint. Honestly, if you're just that person alone, you will already look like you are super on top of your game. And my suggestion here is try to look at least 8 weeks or 2 months in the future so that you can give yourself plenty of time to plan. And another tip I have here is to also look out for those special holidays. You know the one. The more ridiculous ones, the ones that you're gonna do an organic social post for, but you're not gonna do a paid social post for. But I do think they're fun and often make like really fun like brand activations, even just on Instagram stories. Another portion of knowing your calendar is just knowing what's coming next. Do you have a certain product to launch? Are there any other big activations with celebrities or influencers that you should know about? When you know your calendar, you know your opportunities. And again, if you're a person that knows the opportunities, then you're in the position to pitch those opportunities. And number 6, speak up. This goes to you, especially Gen Z. Literally just speak up in your next marketing meeting. I can't tell you how many times I've been into a marketing meeting and half the room, or even 75% of the room, doesn't say anything at all. And half the time, they don't even look like they're engaged. And this goes especially for Gen Z. Your point of view is incredibly valuable, even if you're not Gen Z. Your POV is incredibly valuable to marketing because we are marketing the masses. And your point of view is not going to be the same as everyone else in the room, and that is a gift. If you can take one thing from this video, it's that the people who contribute, who are passionate, who actually just show that they're interested in the problems, the issues, and the marketing at hand, those are the people that are always top of mind for promotions, for more money, for more opportunities. Again, I really wish that it just came down to the actual result, but it doesn't. And your first step to making sure that you're always top of mind is just to be present. So this is your call to speak up in your next marketing meeting. And that's it. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. I'm super curious because it's a little bit out of the norm, but I had a lot of fun filming this one. I'd love to do more content like this for you. I will see you next week. Bye guys.